Welcome to the TWS Sports Podcast.
Don't be upset by a northern bloke.
Ronaldo, he looked at me, smiled, and he never done it again.
What's in there, Mickey? He went, it's about 300 grand in there, kid.
If I'm on the opposite end of an argument with Piers Morgan, that's a very comfortable position that I'm happy to be in.
I think I'd be up there with one of the most irritating cricketers.
Tom, we were getting on so well until that question, mate.
You boys are going to get absolutely hammered. Absolutely.
Joining us today on the TWS Sports Podcast is a legend in the game of cricket. He's a former England player, umpire, England coach, and now Sky Sports commentator. Welcome to the podcast, David Lloyd.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
So before we start, how do you want us to, is it David, Dave, Bumble? How are you addressing you?
Any way you like. Keep it formal, you can call it David. I can tell you why I'm called Bumble, and it's going back to the 1960s. And it's a bit like The Simpsons is now. They were a caricature programme called The Bumblies. It was in the 60s with a chap called Michael Bentine, and older listeners would remember the Goons. And Michael Bentine was one of the Goons, and he had a little programme called The Bumblies, and apparently I look like him.
Well, we have actually just watched a YouTube clip of the Bumblies, and maybe a slight similarity, not much though, really.
Well, I didn't watch it for a start, but it's one of them things that's just stuck with me. And I've got 4 kids, and one of them has adopted the nickname as well. The eldest one, he's called Bumble as well.
It's a fine nickname.
Yeah.
So we'll start with question 1. Should we go straight to question 1? Tom?
When you were a child, did you always want to be a cricketer?
Oh, no, I wanted to be a footballer all the way. And it's a real good question, that, because people would also, cricket is my business. It's been my business since I was 15, a young lad and joining Lancashire. But there's a big difference. My sport, if I talk about my sport, is football. I'm a football fanatic. I'm one of these guys that will just watch football all day and talk about football, and I'm really interested in it. Whereas, I could tell you this, I know you won't let it go any further. If cricket's on telly, I don't watch it.
I hear you're a big Accrington Stanley fan, is that right?
Yeah, I've been involved at Stanley for a long, long time. Through thin and a lot thinner than that, but now we're doing okay. We've got a new owner, we've got a fabulous bloke who's a mate of mine, Andy Holt. He's the new owner. We've got a beautiful stadium, it's a lovely stadium, and we're in League One.
Brilliant.
That's fantastic.
Do you ask this one?
Used actually played for Accrington Stanley during the 60s, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I mean, that's because, it's where I'm from. I'm from Accrington, and it's a real tight community up there. Everybody sort of knows everybody and knows each other's business. So I'm one of them guys that, if you just say, which team do you support? Well, I support Accrington because I'm from Accrington. I watch football all the time, as I've said. And, it was a real thrill. When I was a young lad, I was a decent footballer, and I got to play for Accrington Stanley. So not when they were in the league, it was when they were in non-league football in what was called the Lancashire combination. So, I've still got scrapbooks about that, and I look at it and with great pride that I played for the local town team.
Am I right in thinking, Bumble? I read an interview with you did a few years ago, and you played with George Best.
Yes, I did. I played a match which I'm very proud. It's on this form that I've got a picture of me and George coming out of the dugout together. It was a charity game over Blackpool way, I think it was. And you talk tactics and you meet everybody, and we had a sort of manager. I said, what sort of formation are we playing? To which this manager said, look, when you get it, just give it George. Okay.
Was he? I've never got to saw him play. Was he as good as everyone says he is?
Let me tell you, he's one of the greatest I've ever seen. but it's an absolute tragedy that bloke died. He was a lovely, lovely lad, as simple as you like, just a down-to-earth, unbelievably good-looking, multi-millionaire footballer. What could possibly go wrong?
Indeed.
After question 4.
Okay. How to get for the cricket?
How did I get into cricket? I had, when I was at school, I went to a school called Accrington Technical School. And yeah, I was at the club, at the Accrington Cricket Club, and I was a bit of a player. I was a decent player, and they decided to send me for Lancashire schools trials. When you went for a schools trial, you played at Old Trafford at the main Lancashire ground. I've cut a long story short, I did really well in that game. I got 50 and 4 wickets. And so they actually signed me straight away. So I literally went from school 15 and a half, round about 15 and a half, and I went straight to Lancashire. So, you know, I'm 74 now, so cricket has been my life since I was 15, and Lancashire Cricket Club gave my first professional start, and that's who I played for 20 years or so. So everything evolved around Accrington Cricket Club, Accrington Secondary Technical School, and then a massive step straight to Lancashire Cricket Club.
Oh, well. So what are your memories of playing for the Lancashire Cricket Club?
Well, my memories, and going back to that time, was, you know, let's just think back, and for the two lads, this will be totally new to the two lads. No motorways. There were no motorways. Very few people, 1965, very few people had cars. And so I had to travel on the bus from Accrington to Manchester on 3 buses before I got to my place of work. And I'm carrying my kit bag with all my cricket stuff in. And so my first memory is that, really, logistically, how do you get to the ground? Well, there was no motorway. I had to go through Haslingden, through the little villages, the mill towns, through Bury, through Prestwich, Whitefield, into the centre of Manchester, through the centre of Manchester, and out to the other side to Old Trafford. So, you know, it was quite an event on a daily basis, every day, getting to Manchester to play.
Blimey, I'm a bit involved some early starts.
Yeah. I mean, the bus that I'd catch would be the 6 o'clock. And it was a double decker, and it stopped. I can remember it used to stop at nearly every lamppost. Stop everywhere.
I heard, Bumble, that you told a story about, I think it was a former Lancashire teammate, David Green, and how he was one of the funniest cricketer you ever played with.
He was. He's passed away a few years ago, David Green. He was sharp. One of these chaps that could pick the Daily Telegraph crossword up and finish it in an hour. And he had a great wit. He was a wonderful wordsmith. He finished up, when he finished playing cricket, he reported cricket for the Daily Telegraph. But he had a sharp wit, was wonderful with words, and he kept everybody amused in the changing room, which, again, for the two lads, that changing room is your place. If you're a team, and in italics, team, now that's your place, and nobody really gets in there. It's by invitation only.
I imagine with him and you in the dressing room, there was lots of funny stories and jokes going about.
At that time, I was just a young lad and I was a listener, but I would say that, you know, the sense of humour and the confidence that I've probably gained would be initially through to this lad, David Green. He was an outrageous character. And he actually played rugby at a good standard. He played rugby for Sale, which I'm not a rugby follower, but I believe that Sale were a very good team.
Brilliant. Number 7, Tom.
What are your memories of playing for England? Well,
again, Tom, just to play for England, it's a lifetime ambition. You know what? I think for a professional sportsman, ambition is huge. To wanting to improve and to get better, and to see how far you can go, to test yourself. So, you know, when you're playing well, your confidence is high, and you just know in your inner self that if I keep doing this, I've got to play for England. They can't ignore me. And of course, I played a bit of a fairy tale. They call Lloyd's Cricket Ground in London. They call it the home of cricket. Well, I made my debut there, so, you know, that was quite nice. I'd never been out of England. I got selected to go to Australia. I'd never been out of England. And again, that was such an adventure. We didn't do that very well, but it was a wonderful tour. 4.5 or 5 months out there in Australia. Having never been out of England. I've been to Wales on my holidays. And so, you know, the memories are long. For the opportunity to go and visit these places, either as a player, as a coach, or as a commentator.
You played in the Ashes in Australia in 1974-75. What are your memories of that series? Was that the one that you just alluded to, where you travelled to Australia?
Yeah, that was the tour, and we didn't do very well as a team. Australia were much better than us. They were a much stronger team. But it was a wonderful tour, and you met great friends. You know, I'm still very friendly with some of the Australian players of that era. And so, you know, the ability or the to be able to go to a country like Australia and to do what you do, i.e. play cricket in front of 60 and 90,000 people. Again, it's very satisfying when you do that. Of course, you want to win. I mean, the whole essence of playing sport is winning and losing, the despair when you lose and the elation when you win. But they were better than us. And so, you know, it's a good story that they beat England 4-1 on that occasion.
And after retiring from your cricketing days, you became an umpire. So how was the transition from being a player into an umpire? Did you find it quite easy, or was it quite difficult for you?
Found it very easy, because as a player, you know what they're all up to. You know, it's like a leopard changing its spots, or poacher turned gamekeeper. And so that was a good time for me over 3 years. Totally different now. When I umpired, you were the boss. The umpire was the boss. But in present day cricket, the player, through the regulations and the laws of the game, the player can challenge the umpire. He can challenge him. Well, when I was doing the job, you never got challenged. There was no DRS. There were not many cameras at cricket matches, and you weren't dissected with your decision making as they are now. You know, they do a fantastic job now, absolutely brilliant job, the umpires now, but inevitably you make mistakes. And that's why they write the laws that say, if in the umpire's opinion, not somebody in a commentary box and not somebody sat in a dugout, if in the umpire's opinion he's out, he's out. And the umpire is right even when he's wrong.
Yeah. So now, as you just mentioned, there's DRS, there's cameras that look for no balls and things like that. Do you think that that's a good thing for the game of cricket, or do you think that it's better to be just down to the umpire's opinion rather than bringing technology?
My personal view is that I'd rather it be down to the umpires. I think we waste an enormous amount of time on technology. Again, it's just the umpire's opinion in that split second. You know, that 90-mile-an-hour delivery that rattles into a pad, the cricketer's leg guard, and he gives a decision, he's out or not out. And then with DRS and technology, we're waiting until it's loaded up into the technical area, and then he has to look at it in slow motion 48 times, and then he has to come up with a decision. Well, you know, you're paying, if you're at Lloyd's, it's premium price, it's £150 a ticket, and what you're doing at that time is just sat watching grass grow when you should be watching a game of cricket. The umpire, I can tell you this, for 20 years, it swings and roundabouts. You win some, you lose some.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anyway, at the end of the day, you got to trust that the umpire is going to get more right than he's going to get wrong, surely.
Yeah, and sometimes you're on the receiving end, and sometimes of a good decision, and sometimes you're on the receiving end of a bad decision. I can categorically say that in 20 years playing cricket, I was never, ever out LBW. Not once. In my mind.
Yeah, I say that I play cricket for my local league on Saturday. And I'm the same, Bumble. I'm never out. I've never hit it. It's always going down leg.
Yeah, always the umpire's fault.
We got top number 10.
After umpiring, you have become a coach of Lancashire and then England. What sort of coach were you, and did you enjoy it?
Well, I certainly enjoyed it, Tom, because I had a great bunch of lads, a wonderful bunch of lads, some lovely characters, some funny characters, some sort of demanding characters. I think when you've got a group of, say, 20 players, they're all not the same. They're definitely not the same. So I had a great time. The memories would be fond, very fond. It was, there we are. There's my wife just ringing me, so I've just told her wait. You'll have to wait a bit. So yeah, Lancashire and England coaching was again, that ambition. I come back to ambition. So I got into coaching. What do I want to do? I want to coach the national side. And, we did okay. We didn't have the financial clout that they've got now. They've got an enormous amount of financial clout from the broadcasting deals which are going around. We didn't have that in the 90s, but we did okay.
Yes. Zimbabwe. Okay. In Zimbabwe.
Sorry, you
got in so trouble for your comment after in tour in Zimbabwe. Why do you get in trouble for?
Well, I got in trouble in Zimbabwe for being northern, for being north, and I was a bit plain speaking. I said exactly what I thought, and it offended one or two people, which that actually mortified me. I thought, well, why are they getting? What have I said that's upset them? I wouldn't be upset by that at all. But it did upset some people. It was good copy in the media. They thought that was marvellous, that, the media can follow up a story and make it run for quite some time. But all I was doing was being northern. I just said exactly what I thought. And right now, I don't give any thought to it at all. Don't be upset by a northern bloke.
Fair play, yeah.
Yeah.
You must have some funny stories from your tours with England as coach. Can you tell us some of your funny stories?
I'll tell you one funny story. I'll just tell you one funny story. That one of your previous questions was, what sort of a coach were you? Well, I would protect my players at all costs. I would sort of take the blame and leave the players. But I was if I saw something wrong with the players, I was a bit Alex Ferguson with a hairdryer. I would rip into a player, rip into them. And we played a game in Australia in 1997 against Australia A. So that's the B team, it's the seconds. And all their press would be saying that our seconds will beat you, our seconds are better than you, and so on. Anyway, we were running this game, and Michael Atherton, for some reason, had been made captain of this. He relinquished the captain previously. So Alex Stewart and Nasser Hussain were resting, and we make Atherton captain. And we're running this game, we're winning the game 99% of the time. And eventually, Michael Atherton opened the game up and declared, when he should never have done. And to cut a long story short, Australia won. And I didn't think we played very well. And it's round about Christmas time. And I got all the players in the dressing room after, and went round each of them. I had them sat down, and I'm tearing a strip off one after another. One lad who didn't play in the game was Yorkshire's Darren Goff, who is a fantastic character. Now, I mentioned it's Christmas time. As I'm going round the changing room and pulling each player, you. In walks Darren Goff, dressed as Father Christmas. He is dressed up in full Father Christmas regalia with a red suit and a beard and carrying a sack full of presents. As I'm tearing into the players, Goff is saying, ho, ho, ho. So I found myself having a right go and tearing a strip off Father Christmas. I bet there's not many national coaches that have torn a strip off Father Christmas with adults.
I can't imagine anyone's ever told Father Christmas off.
No, Father Christmas is very popular, but he wasn't very popular with me when we just got beat by Australia.
Yeah, Father Christmas needs to learn the art of timing.
Yeah, I mean, that was true Goffy. Goffy, absolutely down to a T. I'll go and cheer everybody up. I'll dress up as Father Christmas.
Bumble, I've been told to ask you about a story in Portugal, doing a triathlon with Dougie Brown and Phil Tufnell on a bike.
Yes, yeah. I was big on fitness, and we took him on a fitness 5-day or a week in Portugal, just pure fitness. And I've watched they call it a triathlon or something, where they had to swim, cycle, run, but they were in pairs. And so Philip Tufnell was the least fit, Dougie Brown was the fittest, so we put them together. And the running cycling would be that Phil Tufnell would do the cycling, which is easier, and Dougie Brown would do the running. And there was this circuit and a lap. The thing was that Dougie Brown kept lapping Phil Tufnell, and Tufnell's on a bicycle. And Dougie Brown kept running past him, kept going straight past him. But I also, just to let you know, what's probably not reported too well about that, when they got the cycles, we got all these cycles, probably a dozen of them, and I said to our trainer, I said, I don't want them sitting down, take the saddles off. So we took the saddles off the bicycles, and they just had to pedal and couldn't sit down.
I bet they loved you that week.
Oh, that was nasty, nasty.
That's a mean thing to do.
Yeah.
All right, here you are, Tom.
You then became a commentator with Sky Sports in 1999. How did that move come about, and did you find it easy straight away?
Well, I've worked on radio for a long time, for 11 years. I worked on Test Match Special on radio for a long time. So, I had a good grounding with commentary. And so when I finished with England in 1999, I got a call from Sky that they knew that I was finishing, and they offered me a job straight away. And it was a good transition. It was pretty easy. It was seamless. An interesting point is that there is a massive difference between radio commentary and television commentary, whereas obviously on radio, you've got to keep talking. You've got to talk all the time and be very descriptive of everything that you see in front of you. So if you're doing radio commentary, you sit and watch the game outside, and you're watching the periphery, you're watching the crowd, you're watching the umpires. Now on television, it's totally different. You don't watch the game, you watch a monitor. And so you're watching a television screen, whereas if you're watching me on screen, that there's the game out there, but my monitor is here. So I'm watching the monitor, which is the picture that's going into your homes. So I have to comment on that picture, not necessarily on what's happening outside on the field. And the other thing, which is very, very, very important on TV, shut up. Be quiet. Because the pictures will tell the story.
Yeah.
You know, there are times when there's nothing happening really in the game. Well, you don't need to say anything. There's nothing that needs to be said. You know, the camera will pan round, and of course, there are those times when you're absolutely full on, when a game's coming to its end and every delivery is an event. Well, that's, you know, you sort of sit forward and you're in the zone. You get in that zone of full-on commentary. But there's many, many times where certainly our bosses at Sky would tell us less is more.
Yeah, definitely. And I think as well, Bumble, with the introduction of the earpieces in the crowd, so the crowd can hear the Sky commentators, can't they? I noticed sometimes you have a bit of fun with them. Didn't you do a marriage proposal once? Didn't you commentate over a marriage proposal?
I've done 2 marriage proposals. And when they've got these earpieces in, they're either tuned into the radio or the TV. And so you can sort of have a conversation with them. And of course, if there's a lady who's sat obviously with her husband, he's obviously her husband, and I would always say it's good of you to bring your father with you. That just upsets him a little bit. But again, the whole part of it, in a 7-hour day, don't be too serious. You know, there's times when the game's just meandering along, just have a bit of fun. Of course, you don't start having a bit of fun when it's full on, when it's right at the end of the game or it's a big flashpoint in the game. But, you know, there's plenty of time just to have a bit of fun.
Definitely. Yeah, Tom?
You have commentated with Fred Truman. I hear you did a great impression of him. Can you show us, please?
You probably don't know who Fred Truman is, but here I am in North Yorkshire, and God's country, Yorkshire, and it's where I come from. And I'm not saying I'm God, but I'm from the same country. And I'd like to tell you that I was the fastest bowler that's ever drawn breath. I was like lightning.
Wow. That's fantastic.
But there is another lad that lives in Yorkshire. He lives not far from me. He doesn't know I'm coming up here. He's called Jeffrey Boycott. Now, he's from Yorkshire. Right, yes. Well, I'm the best player that's ever lived. As you all know, I'm the best. There's nobody better than me. I am the best. And it's as simple as that. I like cricket. Cricket's a great game, and now we're very good at it. You see, that's why they call me the best. And I know that David Lloyd, I've heard of him. He wants as good as
me. What about any of your current Sky colleagues? Any good impressions of them?
Only Michael Holding, man. I can do Michael Holding.
He's finished. Did he finish last week commentating?
Michael is an unbelievably stubborn guy from Jamaica, and he's texted me and he said, "Look, that's the end for me, and I'll see you around the traps." And we had dinner, and he said, "I finish after this game," but he hasn't retired. He will not use the word retire. I mean, it's so complicated. But have you retired or not? No, man. I'm not retired, I'm just not doing it anymore. So, well, that's the same, isn't it? But he says, no, I haven't retired. I didn't retire as a player, and I'm not retiring as a commentator, but I'm not doing it either again.
Fair play, leaving these options open.
Yeah.
After number 16?
What do you enjoy most about commentating?
What do I enjoy most? I enjoy being with my mates. Let me say that. I enjoy being with my pals. I get a good seat. I'm elevated, looking right down the ground. And, you know, we have some fun. We've got a good crew. We work hard. It makes it easier when you've got a good crew, a good team of commentators. And so we bounce off each other well. The other thing, which is very, very, very important, particularly from Sky, which is who I work for, I can say what I want. I've got editorial freedom. Now, I've got to tell you that I've worked on the IPL in India. Now, you don't have editorial freedom. Sometimes you're told, don't say that, and we want you to say this. That's not me. I just want to be myself. And when you've got editorial freedom, you're allowed to be yourself.
Sounds good, I think you do that very well, Bumble. We've got some quick fire questions we want to ask you about some of your Sky Sports colleagues, if you wouldn't mind answering them. Yes. So, out of your colleagues at the moment, who would you take on a night out?
Rob Key.
You're stranded on a desert island for a month. Who do you want to be with?
Isha Gua.
Who is the funniest besides you?
Rob Key.
Who is the most intelligent?
Michael Atherton.
And you've got into a fight. Who do you want behind you to back you up?
Michael Atherton.
I noticed NASA was none of the answers.
No, NASA is one of the great human beings. He has got this reputation that he's careful with his money, that he's tight. He's not. He's a very generous lad, NASA, but he plays up to it. He's got a wicked, sharp sense of humour. One of the greatest England captains we've had. But he's unpredictable. He can be miserable at times.
So coming on now, there's 4 different types of cricket. So you've got Test, One Day, 2020, now the 100. Have you got a favourite?
Yeah, I like Test cricket. I think, you know, there's all sorts of things about Test cricket, and the clues in the word Test. It is a massive test to the players. I think it's also a good social game for meeting friends. Over a 5-day period, you can dip into the game, you can dip out of the game. And I think the social aspect of Test match cricket is excellent. I think T20 is great fun. I think that T20 is wonderful fun for everybody, really, young and old. The new format, the 100, is interesting because you can't get away from the fact that when you look round the crowd, there are so many young families. Now, I think that's a big plus, that you're getting young families turning up at a decent hour to a fast game, and you know, the attention span is good, and it's an encouragement for young boys and girls to get into cricket and to play cricket. The one that, you know, if I had to say that I least like is the 50-over game, because I can tell you how a 50-over game would evolve. There's a formula to it. Now, you know, I don't like a formula to a game. I mean, I can actually say, well, this will happen, that'll happen, and then it'll all finish up like this. And that's how they tend to be 50-over matches, where the rest of it is, as I say, it's fun for T20. It's lovely entertainment for families, the 100, and a Test match is an absolute test.
Yeah, I agree. We've got, I think, 3 more questions, Bumble. We'll let you go.
Okay.
Tom.
You enjoy singing as well, especially the song Sweet Caroline. Could you give us a bit of singing now?
Do you want to sing it with me, Tom?
Come on, then.
Sure.
Go on. What was the sing, Caroline?
Come on, Nige.
Wait, sorry?
Come on, Nige. Just all join in.
Okay. I'm joining the chorus. I don't know the verse.
Right, no, do you know it starts? Where it began?
Yeah.
After 3. 1, 2, 3.
Where it began.
I
can't begin to know when.
But
then I know it's going strong. Was in the spring,
and spring
became the summer.
Who
Who'd have believed you'd come along?
Hands,
Touching hands,
reaching out,
touching me, and touching you.
All
Sweet
Caroline.
Good times never felt so good.
I think there's a new career here for all of us.
I think we're like, take that.
I think Wembley is definitely beckoning.
Slightly more serious. We saw you singing last week and then a few years ago with Freddie Flintoff around the ground. Do you enjoy that side of it? Do you enjoy the interacting with the crowd?
Yeah, I do. And again, that was 2020 finals day, and Andrew Flintoff was convinced that he was Elvis Presley. I did a bit of Johnny Cash, and you know, there was a real buzz to that, a real thrill to it, because you know there's 25,000 people on, and you're a lousy singer, and you're getting all them going, and they all love it. You know, I can't sing, but I can have a go at singing. I love karaoke. But, you know, you can stand in front of 25,000 people and they'll all have a go. Every one of them having a go.
I remember watching that, and you didn't fall over like Freddie, so you didn't embarrass yourself like Freddie Flintoff did.
He was full of it. He said, I want a proper suit. I want a proper Elvis suit. He said, I can sing Suspicious Minds. And he forgot the words.
I noticed as well, in 2017, you won Commentator of the Year award. Do you remind your current colleagues of that every now and then?
You know, that was a big moment for me, because I found out I was in New Zealand in a place called Raglan, Raglan's a bit like Newquay, the big surfing place. And I found out there, and I mean that I got quite emotional about that, because it's one of these independent things. But you know, since then I've won other awards. I won a BAFTA at the British Film and Television Awards, which you know, then it's like a mask, a big brass mask, which I've got. It's very proudly displayed at home, and to win Commentator of the Year and then to win a BAFTA just for spouting off about cricket is quite special.
Well, that's amazing, and it just shows that you're a very enjoyable character, and I love listening to you commentate, Bumble. So
thank you.
Thoroughly deserve the award. So we've got two more.
I was going to say, should we after question 23?
Yep.
Okay.
If you can change one rule of cricket, what will it be?
Oh, great question. That's a great question. You've touched a nerve here. Yeah, time wasting. There's one rule in cricket, and it's already written down. Now listen to this carefully. The rule says that when the bowler is at the end of his normal run, the batsman has to be ready. Now it stops there. That's it. That's the law. When the bowler is at the end of his run, the batsman has to be ready. I would add another sentence to that. If he isn't, just bowl. If he isn't there, just bowl. He'll soon get there, and it'll speed the game up, because every now and again you'll get mid-over, after ball 2, the batsman will just walk down and start having a chat. Yeah. That would never happen. Under my rule, that would never happen, because they wouldn't have time for a chat. The bowler is at the end of his run, bowl.
You know what irritates me when I'm at the ground, I go to watch cricket quite often, is you take middle stump doesn't move. Every single time a batsman's on strike, they ask for middle again, mark it again. Next ball, ask for middle, mark it again. And it seems to waste so much time. They go down, pat the pitch, have a chat.
Well, my rule. Adam stops all that. He'll just bowl. I don't care whether you're scratching your mark, asking for your guard. talking to your mate, I'm going to bowl.
I like it. Right, we've come on to the last question now, Bumble, if that's okay with you. And it's a very short question. Ashes predictions for this year.
Australia. Yeah, we need 2 opening batters. I've seen one this week, Daniel Bell-Drummond. Our 2 openers are not solid enough. They're not giving good enough starts. And I think Bell-Drummond would be a better player in Australia than he is in England. But I've just heard the news this morning that the Australian Prime Minister is not going to make any special exceptions COVID-wise for cricketers. So it's watch this space, because I think a number of hours will say, well, we're not going. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter, because they will find 16 who will go. But you be prepared that some of the big players would say, I'm not going. Don't worry, the 11 will go, or 16 will go, and it might not be the number 1 team.
What's your thoughts on that, Bumble? I know, take COVID, pretend COVID's not here. You play cricket in England during the summer, and then in the winter you go away to India, Sri Lanka, Australia. So you play cricket 12 months of the year. And if you're a Ben Stokes, a Joe Root, Josh Butler, you're playing different formats of the game. So you are away from your family a lot of the time. Do you think there needs to be more account taken into that, or not?
Well, I think you manage it. It's a good debate. You manage that sort of thing. I'm slightly old school. It's your job. You're paid very well. It's what you chose to do. And many, many people around the world travel for the business. And I think, they do get time off. But the big point that you made there about COVID, just to, put COVID aside, this is different with COVID, with the bubbles and the isolation and so on. But in normal circumstances, it's your job.
Fair enough. Right, so do you want to finish off here, Tom?
I would just like to say a big thank you again to everyone who listens to our podcast. We really appreciate it. Please continue to leave reviews and pass our podcast on to your friends and family. Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. We really enjoyed speaking with you, and it means so much to us as a school to be able to have the opportunity to speak with you. Thank you.
Can I just say to you 2 lads, I think you've been absolutely fantastic. I do these podcasts all the time, and I can't wait to get out of them. I think you 2 have been superb, absolutely brilliant. Well done.
They are amazing. And they've developed and learned so many skills from doing it as well. So thank you so much.
They are really, truly the stars of the show.
Good lads.
Sorry, Dave. I mean, obviously you are as well, but these guys.
Brilliant.
they're
You've done fantastically well. Very proud of you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Boys. Thank you, Bumble, and we appreciate it, and all the best for the future. All the best, house move. I hope it goes well.
Thank you.
And we'll speak to you soon.
Will do.
Take care. See you soon. Bye.